guys, Ralph here, and welcome to True Power Trumpet Fitness. Hang on, is that better? On this wonderful Wednesday here in Connecticut. Life's good. Life is good. This is a little late. Crazy day, errand-wise and business-wise and all that sort of stuff. I didn't do a whole lot of anything. But here we are, 2:30 in the afternoon. That's very late for me to get a video up. But anyway, you saw the thumbnail. Mouthpiece pressure. I've been getting lots of questions from my students about this. It's quite simple, guys. It's quite simple. Anyway, let me honk a little bit, see what we got, and we'll take it from there. Now, how's that for warm-up? Now, as I said, the chops don't suffer the warm-up. But you notice I got caught between breaths in a couple things there, and that's what leaves you, technique and all that, that's what leaves you when you're not practicing. That's why Doc Semmer said every single day, practice. Anyway, mouthpiece pressure. I tell you what, guys. Have you ever heard me say word one about mouthpiece pressure? All of you out there that are my students, my actual students, be it Skype, one-on-one, have you ever heard me say one thing about mouthpiece pressure? No. Why? Because you don't have to think about it. Now, you can't use too much. I'm not saying go ahead and press all you want. That's not what I'm saying at all. But that is not what you think about. It's like driving a car and you're focusing on the accident instead of how to avoid the accident, actual driving. It's exactly what it is. That was just that just came to me. That was wonderful. Anyway, anyway, what happens with mouthpiece pressure? Well, here's the deal. If that's your bottom lip and that's your top lip, this is what we're after. Okay? If that's your top lip and that's your bottom lip, that's what we're after. And the tongue is in there to lock it, and you are creating a compression. Okay? That, in a nutshell, is what we are after. Okay? Now, when you spit buzz, that is exactly what you have. Okay? Now, the only two guys that can spit buzz their highest notes, I told you many times that I know of, maybe there's more, is Jerry and Dave Steinmeier. Okay? Now, what happens is, I just started recently spit buzzing G's above high C. Okay? That's new to me. Usually it was E or F. I just started recently doing G's. Guys, my range is going up. Okay? Now, as you know, the G above double C is not my highest note. Just placing delicately the mouthpiece on your lips holds that grip in place. Okay? Now, that's why spit buzzing is so effective, guys, because you are not using the crutch of the mouthpiece. You're holding it in with your tongue and your grip without the use of the mouthpiece. Now, this is very little arm pressure to go from my G above high C that I spit buzz right up to double C and E and F and whatnot. Okay? Now, that's in a perfect world. When your chops, your grip starts to collapse, no matter what happens, whenever your grip starts to collapse, okay, whether your compression with your tongue and the light arm pressure of the mouthpiece is not suffice to hold it in, then you have to, the only thing left to do is to press harder against this grip. Okay, if that's your tired of bop lip, you press harder against it to hold it in. That's where you start damaging chops. Big time start damaging chops. Okay? Now, back in the day, Vacchiano and all this, I used to be maniacally fixated on my left arm. No pressure, no pressure. You're not supposed to use pressure. Okay, and what is this? Roy Stevens and Costello stuff? Stupid. Stupid. Anyway, that's not what you're supposed to be thinking about. Are you supposed to use a lot of pressure? No, but like the driver in the car, you're not thinking about an accident that's going to happen. You are thinking about keeping the car on the road. You are thinking about your chops, your tongue position, your compression, your relaxed corners. That is what you should be thinking about. Okay? Now, I come almost every 5 days a week. First thing I do, not a mark on my lips anywhere. Guys, that's important. That's important. Now, a little bit of pressure is, as I said, is not a big deal. But when it gets to a point where you're pressing to the point where you're doing just a little bit of damage to the lips, guys, that is when the lips start to swell when you stop and you wake up in the morning and then you need warm up. Now you notice I never have to warm up. Never. That's because I'm not doing damage to the chops. Okay? Now, when it starts to collapse, either by stretching, the tongue losing its grip, collapses into the cup, okay? That is when you have to start pressing to stop that collapse. When it starts to collapse into the cup, yes, you have to press against it so it won't collapse. Now, the minute that happens, guys, you can hear it. The nose can come out. Lord knows we have lots, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And yes, you know who you are. You goaded me into it. I'm going to do this tomorrow. And I'll take the slings and arrows, but you know who you are. And I promised I wouldn't use your name. What a wussy. Anyway, back to what we were saying. I digress. Yes, when you start pushing, guys, that's when you start causing damage. Okay, Ralph, fine. How do I know if it's too much? It's very simple, guys. You can tell. When the chops are breaking down and you have to start pushing for any money, you might as well stop. Okay? Unless you're on a job and you have to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. Got it? Jobs are half the problem with people's chops. If we could just sit home and take care of it the way we want to, our chops are wonderful. Like I have the luxury of doing. Okay? But, guys, the mouthpiece pressure comes from the breakdown of your grip. Whether it's the True Power grip or the Claude Gordon grip or the Caruso grip or whatever grip you have, Costello, whatever thing you're doing. When it breaks down, you have to press to keep it going. Now, that is when you start to get mangled chops. And when it gets to the point of no return, guys, you have big time trouble. Now, the poster boy, as we know, for mangled chops due to arm pressure was Louis Armstrong. Now, here was a guy as a kid. I mean, everybody knows about his trials and tribulations in New Orleans. Very, very poor, dirt poor. But he could make, even as a kid, make a few bucks playing the trumpet. And these few bucks in his poverty-stricken situation was a considerable amount of money. And he took care of the rest of his family and all this sort of stuff. So the point is, he took every job that he could get his hands on. Whether his lips were sore, whether they were, and they got infected sometimes, and they swell and all this sort of stuff, and there was scabs in there that he pulled off. I mean, it was just gross. But you see the scar tissue and everything on his chops. Now, I told you in a video several years ago, my cousin, Eileen Farrell, the great singer, used to sub for him. And every once in a while they would do several gigs in tandem together. And they would get together for sound checks and all this sort of stuff. And the first time she heard him, the great Louis Armstrong, she couldn't believe the sound check. He could not play. I mean, just this most pathetic attempt at trying, and it didn't seem to bother anybody. You know, his sound men, his band, it didn't seem to bother anybody. And she's going, what the heck? By the time Downbeat came, he was fine. He was wailing. But that's what you're up against when you get the mangled chops. Now, tomorrow I'm going to talk about some of our idols who have mangled chops. And we'll do that. But guys, remember, do you want to press? No. But you can't be thinking about the mouth pressure. You have to be thinking about what is going to keep the chops locked in to prevent the mouthpiece pressure. All right? All right. Eat and drink fruits and vegetables and live your life with true power. Love you all.